Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and I come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, the last couple of weeks have just been very, very interesting in my life, and I'll share a little bit of it with you. And I want to talk today about why character matters. And in order to have character, you got to have truth. So what happens here? This show is a recorded show, and I happen to be recording it on Election Day. So by the time you hear the show on Saturday, we're going to maybe we're going to know the outcome of the election. I'm hoping and praying that we do. And I have had a lot of time to think and reflect, and I just want to share some of my thoughts along with it. I first of all want to share with you about my personal life. I have now been on the air well over 3 years now. And I remember when I first had a chance to go on the air, I had no experience whatsoever being on radio. I did have a podcast, I would say that, so at least I knew how to turn the microphone on. But AM 590 took a chance on me and said, I think you have a legitimate message here, and they made room for me. And I have kind of found my way. I want to share with you, I had an event a week ago which brought me together with a whole lot of people. And so many people tell me that they listen to my show and they follow this show, and it is deeply humbling, I will tell you that. So what happened is right after I got my own show on AM 590, and not too long after, maybe a year or so, I lost my husband. And he had kidney cancer. His name was Del Singleton. Some of you may have known him. Just an incredible, incredible man. And how fortunate I was to be his wife for so many years. And I'm one of those people that really got lucky because we had a great friendship. And it was 44 years of just incredible life. And we've had so many close friends over the years, and people that we've gone to dinner with or had over. And we certainly had our share of parties, that's for sure. And we had an incredible life. And then in April of 2017, the kidney cancer finally succumbed, and we lost him. And Dr. Joseph Lee, if any of you ever need kidney problems or have kidney problems, contact Dr. Joseph Lee. The man is my hero. And he helped me through that time when I had to let him go. And so I spent the next 3 years basically in workaholism, talking to many of you. And I poured my life into literally combating sex trafficking and social media exploitation and child pornography and sextortion. And most of you know I have a couple of books out, and I wrote those books in a time that I felt like it was very, very important for people to understand the psychology of grooming. That's what Seduced is all about, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the things that I came to know in that 3-year period was myself. I share this with you because I want to talk about character and truth. And one of the things that I came to know is that you really are all you have. And you get to make a decision on how you want that to be. I see people who just don't want to be anything in life. They seem like they just float around and take whatever anybody's handing out for them and look for all the shortcuts they can find, and only work when the rent's due. You see them going down the street with the ironing board on the roof of the car on the 31st of the month, and you go, well, the rent's due, kind of thing. And there are a lot of people like that, but I wasn't one of them, and neither was my husband. And so over the 3-year period, I took some time to try to get to know myself. After a couple of years, I decided I really wanted to do more in my life than just be a widow and work 90 hours a week. And I met a gentleman, Dr. Ken Hendershot, and we immediately hit it off and we became engaged. And a week and a half ago, we were married. Now, that isn't easy with COVID, okay? we scheduled that thing 5 times. We were calling it the hell and high water wedding, because 2 days before our wedding, the whole Riverside County went purple on COVID again, and here we go. But we had a lovely backyard wedding with some close friends and family, and it turned out well. And I appreciate each and every one that joined with me. And even at the wedding, it happened to be at the same time this show was on, and several people told me they heard my show on the way to the wedding. And I'm saying, well, if you're listening to my show, you're not at my wedding, but it was a fairly small wedding. So anyway, I just want to share with you because I have given a lot of reflection about what we do as Million Kids. Million Kids is an organization that's dedicated to combating sex trafficking, especially, but a lot of sextortion and child pornography. And the thing that I have learned in all of those hours of sitting here, and let me just finish the story a little bit. So I got engaged, and then and so I continued to travel across the United States, training law enforcement and code enforcement and animal control and social workers and pastors and corporations and anybody who lets me in the door. And then COVID hit, and for me it hit on March 12th. It was a fascinating time because I had just done a very large presentation over at the Hilton, at the convention center in Hilton at LAX, and sold a lot of books. And it is the book sales and the donations that literally keep us together. And so what happened is I came home. Forgive me, I just had a new phone installed and I haven't figured out how to shut it off yet. Anyway, what happened is I came home the night of March 12th. And I don't know about you, but my life changed. All of a sudden, I only do Zooms. And the feedback on the Zooms is good, and I'm glad I get to do them. It still keeps me in connection with people, but it also tells me how much I miss people. I'm a people person. I love people. That's why I do the work I do. Once you've sat with a parent who is in anguish because their child has run away, or they've met somebody on the internet and they've fallen in love and they're out there either having sex or sex for money, or suddenly they're coming home with tattoos and they're sneaking out at night and their attitude has changed, or they just disappear entirely. I've sat with my share of parents in those days, and I listened to them going, what did I do wrong as a parent? How did this happen? Why is this child doing this? And I've sat with many kids who, have made that mistake of sending that naked photo. Many of them get blackmailed right into becoming a prostitute. They tell them that photograph's already in the underground and it's out there in the World Wide Web and you don't have any choice. You are ruined. One of the things I've learned about this, that I think the fear of being damaged goods is the greatest fear on earth for any human being, because that's the first thing that pimps and pedophiles go to when they want to control you. So what has that taught me? That taught me that the way you teach a child to stand against a pedophile or a predator is that they have strength of character, that they have personal pride, that they have pride in their body, that their body is not some sort of negotiating tool to see how many likes you can get or how many people follow you. And I've learned this over the time on my own personal level, as I've sat here over the last 3 years, trying to figure out how do I change this so never again should another child be violated, and never again should another parent have to sit there and watch knowing their child's being forced into sex. Well, about 1.5 years ago, I met Ken, and Ken and I got married, and Ken supports Million Kids. And I want to thank each and every one of you that have supported me over these last 3 years. They have been by far the hardest days of my life. but it has also been some of the most important days. I once again have a strong marriage with a good friend. And even though it's just beginning, I can tell it's going to be a wonderful time. And I know that my husband, Del Singleton, would have been proud, and his wife, Madeline Hendershot, would have been proud, as the two of us have come together and we respect and honor our former spouses, even though they have passed away, because we believe that character is probably the most important thing that you can ever have in a relationship, whether it's husband and wife, whether it's mother and daughter, or father and son. Character matters. My name is Opal Singleton, and we're up against that break, so we'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you, you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and I was just sharing some personal thoughts with you about character. Not that I absolutely would not want to hold myself up as exemplary in any means or any way. I didn't mean it that way, and I want to make sure that's clear. I've made my share of mistakes in my life, and I'm just another person like the rest of you. But this is what I know, that if you want to empower your child to be a leader in a world that is connected by internet all around the world, the place you start is talking to them about character. And character comes, you'll often hear me say, every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you get character. It's as simple as I was laughing at myself today, by the way, because after this wedding thing, I decided I better lose some weight. I've been giving myself one of everything I wanted. So I made some nice vegetable soup, and I could find myself over here going, yeah, but you have that little Hershey Kisses in the refrigerator. And you're like, are you the one that's about to talk about character here, lady? But it is true. It is important to know thyself. I don't know if that's a Bible verse or not, but I do believe that we do need to teach our kids. You only get one shot in life. And you look around, and you can have heroes that are meaningful and stand for something and have value and have character, or you can have heroes that really are destructive. And if you think that kind of rebellion builds character, now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't stand on your own 2 feet, but I think the most important thing we can teach our kids is help them to get to know themselves and what is important to them. I was talking to a mother. She has been, I wasn't intending to say this, by the way, but just off the top of my head, I was talking to a mother. Golly, it's been like 3 years down in Long Beach. I meet so many people back when I was allowed to meet people anyway. And they make up the fabric of my life. Ken and I talked about this, or put that in our wedding vows, that our friends and our family are the most important to us. We are who we are because of who our spouses were and, the kind of people that we hang out with. And I met this lady, and she was a foster mom, and she had a daughter who was just turning 13. Now, 14 is the most likely time that a kid's going to turn to prostitution. I'll tell you that. I can tell you that from personal experience. This little girl was 13 and well past her age for, the things that she was trying out in life. She had already obviously had dabbled in commercial sex. And the mother doesn't like the guy. She's being groomed. This is typical. It's called boyfriend pimping. He swoops in. Let's try swoops in. Anyway, he swoops in and gives her everything she wants. And when you're 13, 14, you don't know who you are. You don't want to be like mom. Okay, that. I think that's every kid's fear in the world. I ain't gonna be like my mom. I'm not gonna be like my dad. And you have perfectly fine mom and dad, but that's part of becoming independent when you go through that teen years. But they don't really know what they want. And I think that so many parents give up about that time. They have about had it with parenting. And when this kid turns 13, it's like, I'm through. You're an adult. Goodbye. Nothing could be more of a mistake in your life. If there's ever a time your child needs you and needs you close, far enough away they can develop independence, but close enough to help them work their way through it, because they're starting to get their own identity. And not every idea they come up with is a good one. We all know that one. That is why we don't give them the keys to the car until they're 17, okay? And I'm not sure why we give them social media before you have the sex talk with them. It doesn't make any sense to me, because your kid's going to know more about sex when they're 7 than you did when you're 70. It is that simple, and it isn't going to be the kind of sex that has character. And this is the reason why we need this conversation, mom and dad. I think that's the most important thing you can do, is begin to sit with your child and say, you are starting to become independent. You're starting to try to figure out who you are. So let's do some things together. Let's have some conversations together to help you understand who you are. By the way, while you're there, I'm going to tell you who our family is while we're at it. This is a family who doesn't take shortcuts. Yeah, we could make some extra money. We could collect some money at a retail store where they've made a mistake in giving us the wrong change. And we could say, oh, well, your problem, you did it, and take that money. But somehow, some way, that's going to put a chink in your armor. because you know as a person that you cheated. Maybe it was a gift that they gave to you, but you get a right to decide. Am I going to take something that's not rightfully mine, that I did not earn, that I know they made a mistake? Or am I going to stand there and show my children, we're the family that has honesty, and our family stands for the truth. And this is important that we get back to the basics. When we're out there and things happen, that we take a look at it and say, we could keep this, more for me, less for them. But isn't it better to be the kind of person that says, that person has less than I do? And if there's some way I can support them and help them, I'm not talking about walking around handing out money, okay? But I am talking about, can we have a little courtesy? This really, you're the one that's listening, so I'm gonna pour it on you. This really comes down to the nubbins at the Costco parking lot. That frustrates the heck out of me. I don't know about you, but the Costco parking lot is the only place I go where totally normal adults leave their little children behind moving cars because they have the right of way. And you say to yourself, I'm trying to back out. I was here long before you. And you're like race ahead with your little kid, and you're right there on my bumper. And you've just taught your child to walk behind a moving car. Now, obviously, I'm going to stop because I have a child in my rearview mirror here suddenly. But I say to myself, what you're really teaching that child is you're entitled. And even if you get ran over, it's their fault because you're entitled. It's a minute point, but it is an interesting discussion when it's always about me, mine, and being satisfied over and above everybody else. You see, that's exactly how pimping starts. That guy swoops in there and says, hey, baby, you are hot, and your mom and dad, they are so old-fashioned, and I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to give you everything. You deserve more. You won't have to earn it. I'm going to give it to you. Just need to do this. And so that is how it begins. The way a child doesn't fall for that is to simply say, I am proud of who I am, and I am not sleeping with your friend just to get your affection. I am too proud of who I am, and I'm going to take care of my body. And I value my body as being something that is valuable. Remember that concept? It's like anymore, if you go to a school, you have cheeks hanging out of shorts, you have girls wearing these tight little things where everything is exposed, and I can't imagine how the male is even concentrating. And all the time you're finding out that they've sent these naked photos. I think you've heard me say, one girl told me, well, you have to send those naked photos or they won't go out with you. Well, you say to yourself, what kind of date are you having? And so that is a girl that does not value her own self. That is a girl who does not value her body. That is a girl who does not value her standards. And she basically says, this is all I'm worth, so let's start with that and work downhill. So it's a fascinating discussion that we're having. I honestly believe that parenting is the most important mission of this decade. And I cannot say that any louder or any clearer. I thought about that today as I stood in that voting line. All the lies we've heard on both sides over the last week or months. You have these groups out there, QAnon and Black Lives Matter, all of them out there stealing and rioting and burning down buildings because they have a right. We must talk about character with our children. This is Opal Singleton. We're up against that break, so stay with us. We will be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to thank each and every one of you that donate to the show. In the last week, some of you have donated, and I haven't had a chance to write you personally and thank you, and I appreciate your patience. I took a mini honeymoon over to Sedona, and it was nice, and so I took some time off, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Anyway, but I want to thank each and every one of you that donate and support our work. If you could go to millionkids.org, millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org, and hit that donate button or send us a check. We would truly, truly, truly appreciate it. So I want to talk about this idea of character because this really is the heart and soul of the matter. I see it all the time. When I go into assemblies, back when I used to go into assemblies, I can look out over the audience and I can almost tell which kids have either been violated or they're the child of a divorce, or they have personal pride. There is a huge difference. I've often marveled at this. It might be interesting for you to look at your own life and say, how do I view myself? Am I proud of myself? Do I try to do what's right? Or am I a person that thinks I'm less than? Because if you're a person that believes that you're less than, or that you're damaged goods, maybe something bad happened to you in your past, your childhood, where you were maybe violated or felt abandoned by a father or a mother or a grandmother. Sometimes it's a simple matter of death, where there could never have been any other way but somebody left you. And it gives you these feelings of insecurity. And, if that is you and you've been through that, I highly recommend that you get counseling and work through that, because the way that you get character is that you begin to understand, number one, there is nobody perfect out there. And number two, even if you're not perfect, you're forgiven. And so with that knowledge, from there on out, I found that self-esteem is a decision you make yourself. And, once you decide that you're valuable, then nobody can take that from you. It's a gift you give yourself. I often tell this to kids in school because I remember, I grew up poor, baby, and it was quite a mess what I grew up in. And it turned out okay. And, here I am many years later, and I am grateful for my family. I'm not grateful for all the experiences I had with them, but I am grateful for my family, that they loved me and they believed in me. I thought about that because of our wedding and all the people that took me through that really difficult time and took Ken through his difficult time. And they're here today. And there are friends that couldn't come because of COVID. And then there are new friends. And I look back and I think to myself, I remember the day I finally decided, you know what? I'm no better and I'm no worse than anybody else. If I'm going to compare myself to other people, well, I'm going to lose that, baby, because there's some mighty fine people out there. And sure enough, there are plenty more people with more money. There are plenty more nonprofits that are more successful than I am. There are days I think, where did I go wrong? I only reached 400,000 people. There are people that have 1 million followers, and they're very wealthy, and that ain't me. I'm not very good at that accumulating and and like that. But God has provided the money that we needed for funding. And I look back at myself and I say, when I had those hard knock experiences, you can either let them get you down and decide, okay, I'm flawed, I'm imperfect. It reminds you, if you break a nail, you hide your hand, right? Because you're flawed and you feel like everybody on earth can only see that broken nail. Well, many people function like that in life, and I did for many, many years, until one day it occurred to me that I'm no better and no worse than anybody else. And once I decide I'm valuable, then it works for me, that nobody can take that from me. And from there on out, that is when I learned every time I did what was right instead of what was easy, I became a stronger person. And every time I looked for others and I decided I was going to tell the truth and not lie, or that I wasn't going to take something that was mine, or I wasn't going to date and hook up with people who are, not sharing my values. I think that often happens is that people, especially teenagers, I think this is so important to talk to teenagers about what is an empowering relationship and what's an exploitive relationship. Our kids turn 14, they're looking hot, and they're just hopeful that somebody thinks they're cool, okay? And then, once they get that somebody, they go, well, maybe I could do better than that, and off they go. And we don't talk to them about, what is a healthy relationship, that you give the other party room. I remember one time in a counseling session that somebody told me that I was responsible for making myself happy. And I'm like, what? And they're saying, yes, your husband is not responsible if you're mad. He didn't make you mad. You decided to be mad based on what he did. Okay. But you can decide, well, I'm not going to be mad. That's just him doing his thing. And sometimes he's perfect and other times he's not, But that doesn't mean I have the right to rearrange him. Okay. And if, in fact, it makes me mad, then I can choose if I'm going to be mad or I'm going to find some way to be happy and live through that. And so I remember learning that. And I think these are all things that we need to start early on talking to kids about, don't just hook up with anybody. Anybody who sleeps around can get anybody. It's that simple. Anybody who has very low standards can get somebody, okay? If that is your goal, the fact that you got somebody makes you successful, then you're starting pretty far down the totem pole, okay? What is an empowering relationship? I talk to kids about that all the time. Is this guy or girl trying to get you to do something that you normally wouldn't do? Are they trying to get you to give up something? Maybe miss school when being able to get a good grade is important to you? That you have goals that you want to grow up and be something and they want you to give those up? Or maybe this is somebody who's coming along and they're asking you all kinds of questions and you met on the internet and that fun stuff of teenage dating. The big problem is on the internet, you can't see who they are, what they stand for. All you can do is you can get all excited because you're flirting, and who doesn't like flirting? That's a lot of fun. He says, she says, you say, they say, and you banter back and forth, and it's a lot of fun. But pretty soon, one of the things you start to notice is this person's asking a lot of personal questions. And I have never met this person. I don't know anything about them. And I am never going to sneak out and meet up with this person. That's one of the conversations you need to have with your child. If they ever want you to meet in private without your family, you have an exploitive relationship. One of the fastest ways we lose teenagers today is they never intended to run away. This is why Million Kids runs Million Kids Missing Kids. A perfectly fine young lady, usually, but sometimes a young man. Straight A student, the parent is absolutely caught by surprise, just poof, they're gone. And that kid never intended to run away. They had met some guy on the internet on one of those dating sites, Scout or Meet Me or Plenty of Fish or Tinder or one of those sites. My LOL, that one's scary, quite frankly. And the next thing you know, they're just not going to mention it to anybody because they know mom and dad will take their social media. They're just going to sneak out and meet up with them for about 10 minutes. And poof, they are gone. One of the conversations that is important to have with your teenager is if they're trying to get you to meet up other than with your family, in your family home, then you have an exploitative relationship. If they're doing all the asking and doing all the demanding, my English, you don't have a relationship, you have a negotiation, and you're losing. Okay. And we must talk to our kids about that because this is the generation that's going to meet new people on the internet. And we have to give them the equipment, the knowledge. We have to talk to them about character and why it is all so important, because most kids will tell you that sex on the internet is not sex. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment. This is Opal Singleton at millionkids.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hey, I want to tell you about one of my heroes, Doris Anderson. She's a realtor over at Remax Realty in Upland. Her phone number, 951-733-8899. Doris has pledged $500 from every house she closes. There's a woman who supports an important cause.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about why character matters in these crimes, combating these crimes of teenage sexual exploitation. I was laughing with my producer here at the break. I already had some show prep on this. We were saying, I did not have sex with that woman, whatever her name was, okay? And, we all now know history tells you that was a blatant lie. But it was interesting. What a slippery slope. I remember those days. I was in Europe. It actually came out. The truth of that story was announced 2 days earlier in Europe than it was here in the United States. I was working out of Europe and my husband was here in the U.S. and I'd call home. But it was interesting how much of our society said, well, it's okay if a man lies about sex, just because he's the president and he lied about sex does not make that immoral, because all men lie about sex. Well, that's a pretty slippery slope. Let me compare it to some other things I was thinking about when I was doing my show prep. The Catholic Church would have you believe that abortion kills babies. Imagine that. I don't know what else you call that if you don't call abortion baby killing. And yet there's a whole nother segment of our society that says, no, that's not killing a baby. That's a woman's right to choose. And so they rename it so it's comfortable for them. It's a fascinating thing for me because as I look at what is going on here, there's a group called QAnon. I believe that's how you say it. Now, they're extreme right-wing people, and they are not helpful because they are out there having riots and throwing out misinformation about sex trafficking, the Pizzagate thing and like that. It did not happen. And yet having that misinformation, even if they're on a side that I prefer, it is not good character. It is not honest. And to be able to say that they have a right to riot and interrupt other people's lives because they believe they're right is not good. However, much of our society is saying Black Lives Matter now, and they have a right to burn buildings and protest because that is an end to racism, and that is how that group believes. But burning buildings is still burning buildings, is still destruction. Protests that are violent protests are still violent protests. And so we have all of this stuff going on in our society where, we keep renaming things. I share that with you because I trained a while back. Gee, it's been 2-3 years ago. How time goes by. But anyway, I had a whole group of kids in a Sunday school class, and they are great people. By the way, I still love those people. I haven't talked to them for a long time, but they do really good work over there in Rancho. But anyway, but a bunch of kids said, sex on the internet is not sex. And they went so far as to say that sin on the internet was not sin. And at least a fourth of them were dead serious. And what they were trying to convince me is that, sin on the internet is not sin because you don't actually do it. You're not actually having sex. Now, you're paying in a game like Grand Theft Auto, you pay $50 and you have sex with the prostitute and then you kill her in the game. And then, you try to get your money back so you don't lose, But they will tell you, well, yeah, I paid $50 to have virtual sex with the virtual prostitute, but that's not a virtual sin. Okay, because sin on the internet is not sin. And where this really becomes a slippery slope is that many of these games have a lot of sex in them. If your child plays a video game, which if you have a child, they are, sit and play that game with your child and start to talk about digital morality and building character. Because you can say on there, hey son, are you talking to a prostitute in the game? Because, we have a mother and a sister and this family, we don't even do that on gaming, Are you about to kill a cop on there? Because our family don't kill cops, okay? Does not kill cops. I need better English here. They don't. Because we have character. And even if it's virtual character, we have character. Because what you put in your heart will determine who you are. If you decide that you're going to be a person of character and that you are going to do what's right instead of what's easy, and you are not going to take the shortcuts, you will grow up to be a person of character, and you're going to be one of the hardest kids on the block to recruit. Okay, they're not going to get you to try drugs, and they're not going to get you to try prostitution, and they're not going to get you to send a naked photo because you are proud of who you are and what you do. But when you start to look at the slippery slope, and I say this on election day, there is a whole lot of untruth out there. And I can point the finger at a lot of people and say, what a bunch of slime balls. And I see all these slogans out there. I looked at all these propositions. A yes is a no and a no is a yes. And they're hiding the stuff about you. And, I talked about last week, Proposition 57 wasn't going to be any violent crimes, except what they didn't tell you was that there are only 13 violent crimes and sex with a child is not a violent crime. Hopefully Proposition 20 will pass and it will be a violent crime. But as we learn to deal with all of this, the thing that I really want to bring home home is that we have to get back to basics. We cannot stand before God and before each other and have strength of character if we're taking the low road. If we're not talking to our kids about the difference, you may get away with stealing this time, but if you have character, it'll eat at your soul. You may get away with an untruth, but if you have strength of character, you will need to apologize for that untruth. We all make mistakes. We all do. But the people who win in this life are the people who truly have character. I'm not here to tell you they're in government, by the way. By the way, I know some very fine government employees, and a lot of them are law enforcement. But not every law enforcement officer's strength of character. But I know a bunch of them that are. And I'm proud as punch to work with them. I know some sheriffs here in Riverside and San Bernardino County. They have character. I know some district attorneys. They have character. And I'm proud to serve with them. And I also know a whole lot of social workers who get very frustrated with the system, but they have character and they do what is right. I know a lot of very fine people. I am so grateful for my life, for being able to start a new life with a person of character, and to be able to come out to you with me and kids, and be able to sit with the parents who have kids that took the shortcut and now they're paying the price, or sit with kids who took that chance and sent that naked photo just because they wanted to be loved. And they did not have the strength of character to value their body and to know that what I have is important and good, and I am going to save my life for somebody who will value it and treat me with respect. I think one of the finest things you can give a child is a relationship that's based on respect. Relationship between husband and wife, and between mother and daughter, and father and son, and vice versa. To be able to have respect for each other and to be proud of who we are. If you want to support the work of me and kids, we could sure use it. Trust me. These are hard times, and I would appreciate it. Simply go to Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. You can write to me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. You can hit that donate button. If you're a corporation, maybe you'll have us out someday so we can train your employees. Maybe your organization, a church, or a nonprofit would have a fundraiser for us. I would truly appreciate that. There are some on my website. If you go to Million Kids on Facebook, if it's up and open, you can look at it. They're trying to have a fundraiser for us if we can stay on the air here. And also follow us at millionkids.org. I just want to say how much you all mean to me. So many people over the last few weeks have come to me, and they supported me during my hardest times of my life. I never dreamed in my life that I would literally lose the most important person in my life, and that I would spend the rest of my life alone. But it has not turned out that way. I found somebody who has good credibility, and it has worked very, very well. But the reason that works is because I have surrounded myself with quality people. People who want to do what's right, people who support our work so that we can support those parents and those teenagers that make those mistakes, and let them know, okay, you made a mistake, turn it around. It's not too late. It is never too late to turn around and do good. I don't care where you've been or what you've done in your life. It is never too late to turn it around and make it a good thing. I hope this week that you take an extra time to tell your spouse you love them and that you believe in them. Put your arms around your kids and your spouse and let them know you're proud to be part of their lives. You folks have a great week, and I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.